Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC Podcast. So we're spending some time today with Rob Larson from General Plumbing Supply. How you doing?
Good. Clifton, how are you?
Doing just fine. Spending some time hanging out here at the National HVACR Education Conference. And I was going through the topic that you wanted to cover, and it's one that's like near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, well, I figured it would be.
You know, when we... for those of you that are listening that are technicians, which I'm sure there's quite a few technicians listening to this. So when you call in for tech support, we are who you get.
That's correct.
Now, what we do is it's a combination of two things. I always try to tell people that what we do as tech support is 80% personal education, right, and 20% technical.
Yeah. Well, I don't call it tech support without adding HVAC tech therapy support.
Yeah, it's therapy. It's like moral support for the job site.
And these guys know their stuff. They just get caught up in the moment. Yeah. They really do.
Yeah, it's like getting up on that ledge, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's like we get stuck, and then all of a sudden the only thing we see is down.
That's it.
Right? Instead of everything behind us that's comfortable. And how do we turn around, right? How do we look back and see the things that we probably already know?
I think training obviously is the biggest thing, especially with all the new technology that you see out there, Clifton. I mean, come on. I feel bad. I've been doing this a long time. The technology today, from when I started, you go back 40 years. And, I don't even tell people I have 40 years anymore because the first 20 years, probably in a museum somewhere, it's meaningless. It's not even
existence to teach on. Right.
Yeah, guys with 10 and 15 years experience have the same experience as guys with 40 years.
Man, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I hadn't even really thought of it from like that.
Right.
But yeah, 100%, because this last 15 or so is really, that's the critical ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what they're up against, right?
Yeah.
But I found trying to just learn the sequence of operation of anything. Right? And we started, with just a simple furnace operation, right?
Yeah.
The sequence of operation for a gas-fired furnace. You recite it, you memorize it, and then it starts helping you with other equipment that you're working on.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, something has to happen, right? If you connect these two wires, something's going to happen.
Right.
And to learn that sequence, and I have a little thing in my training center about it. We do our training. I have a plaque up there that says, "Learn the sequence, rule the world."
Oh.
And it's, I try to push that a lot to get guys to understand.
Boy, that's a hot one right there.
Yeah.
Learn the sequence real, because you're right.
Yeah.
Like everyone asks, like, well, where'd you go to learn all this stuff? You must have went to 10 schools. I'm like, I don't have a degree. I went to 1 year of college. I worked on stuff because people showed me how it actually worked.
Right. And just getting that down. I started in the oil business.
Okay.
I went to school for air conditioning and heat.
Yep.
My first job was with an oil company, and I didn't know anything about oil.
Right.
The service manager took me out first couple of days I started.
Yeah.
And he literally showed me how to do a service call on an oil burner. And I took notes. I was that guy, right? I had to take notes.
I might have to come back to this one day.
Yeah. So I wrote down everything he did. And it was like 10 or 12 items I remember. And I just, after writing them down, after doing a couple of jobs, I memorized this list.
Yeah.
And every single service call I went on, I used that list.
Yeah.
I still remember it today, and it's been a long time since I worked on oil. But going there, getting the main oil filter, taking that apart, making sure that's not clogged. We always dip the tank if we suspect that the oil's low or there may be water in the tank.
Yeah.
But after that, we would find that in the water filter, in the oil filter, if there was any water or anything. So we just start there, and then we go to the pump strainer, right through the whole thing, and for the most part, you find the problem, you correct it. And I just remember doing that for months. And I was called to do a call that a gentleman who's been doing it for 15 years just came off a call. It ended up being a callback. System failed after he left. So they sent me, unknowing that they sent me until after work when they brought me in and talked to me about it. So I go to the job and I went through my list. when they called me into the office and said, "Hey, that call you were on, what'd you find?" And I said, first thing I'm thinking is, I don't remember what I found because I followed my list.
It's done.
And then I kind of thought about the job and I said, I think the strainer was a little clogged, so I cleaned out the strainer. And I go, "Why are you asking, man? Like, what happened? Was it a callback? What happened?" He goes, "No, we sent, Tommy over there. He's got 15 years on you.
Couldn't find it.
You're here 3 months and you have the least amount of callbacks. And we were just trying to figure out how you get the least amount of callbacks."
Nice.
I said, "Well, I go through this list and it works." So it's not, it's just I know it can be boring for some guys that want to just find a problem, but you can't just stop at one thing. You have to go through everything and create yourself a checklist and you'll get through it.
Yeah. What do you think about like in that moment? Like, do you ever get that technician and you go, "Hey, why don't you tell me this process and let's walk back and let's see where you're at and let's see if you've missed anything"?
Well, I'll start from the beginning. I mean, I'll get a call where a guy would say, "Listen, I don't know what's wrong with this unit. I checked this and I've checked
everything."
Yeah, he checked everything. Voltage is good.
Everything's
pressure's
good.
Airflow is good. Static pressure's good. Everything's good. And then after he rattles all that off, and you can tell he's frustrated because he's on the job. He's thinking about the next job already. Yeah. And this is what this is where the therapy kicks in, right?
Right.
Because I'm thinking, hey, I gotta let him talk to me. Like I'm not gonna interrupt him and tell him, hey, stop. Let's just start from the beginning.
Yep.
So that's what I do. So I let him finish, and then I try to lighten it up a little bit because I could tell he's stressed out. Yeah. And I go, "You tell me all these things that are good." So I'm like, "Well, if the voltage is good, the pressure's good, everything's good, why are you calling me? You don't need me."
Right.
And that's, right away he says, "Well, I called you because the problem, it won't work." And I just, we get a little chuckle back. I said, "I'm only kidding with you. It's all right."
Right.
I said,
to break the ice.
Yeah. And then I start from the beginning. Right. "What's your voltage?" "Oh, my voltage, I checked it already. It's fine." I said, "Just follow me. Just, I'm taking notes as we talk. I need you to just tell me what the voltage is." And they'll say, "Well, it's 208, 230. I go, "Oh, well, it can't be both. So why don't you pick one?" And that's when I know they're just,
what they're doing.
And then they stop. "All right, let me get my meter. Right. I'll measure it." And then, and I may ask them for that second. "Oh yeah, it's 239 point what?"
Right.
Like, give me that point number because I know you used your meter.
Then you truly measured it. Yeah.
So believe it or not, we start at that point, and it starts. We follow that path down. And I'm literally just showing them how to troubleshoot, how to check from, the voltage, control wiring, go through the steps. Okay, what's not happening? And then they'll trip over it. They'll find it.
Exactly.
So it's like being lost in a forest. And I'm just somehow, I'm like that guy who's maybe, what's those little planes called that I'm lost in my thoughts. But it's you're just flying overhead and you're able to see this person lost in the woods.
Yeah.
Because you've been there. You know what it looks like. You know what they're looking at.
Exactly.
And you walk them through it. And sometimes they'll turn around and say, "Geez, you're scaring me." I said, "Why's that?" He goes, "I feel like you're over my shoulder right now looking because you know what I'm looking at."
Exactly.
Because I had the experience. I understand what you're looking at.
Yep.
So, you get to that point with them and then they'll find it. And then they'll wind up saying, "Oh, I found the problem. It was a loose wire or something," right? And I go, "Well, congratulations. You did a good job. You found the problem."
Yep.
And most of them will say, No. You helped me find the problem." I said, "Nah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're just trying to take the blinders off and just focus on what they're trying to do and not worry about the next job." Right. It doesn't matter how long it takes you this time to figure this out, but hopefully you learn a technique that you become efficient at figuring things out. Because the more you can figure out, the more money you're going to make, right?
Absolutely.
That's what it's about.
That much more valuable.
Yeah. So that's what I try to encourage them. And I say, listen, whatever you learn, you keep.
Mm-hmm.
You own it. Yeah. Your employer cannot take it away from you. Right. It's in your mind. So
that's so spot on, man. Yeah. When you're throwing these analogies, I'm like, oh my gosh. How many times I've been in that same scenario. So those of you that are listening, you've had these conversations where you've called us for tech support and you've walked through and you found it. That's because we were there for moral support and not the technical support.
And they're smart guys, man.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of smart guys out there. Like I said, once they realize that they're just thinking too hard about it. And we're not just looking for one problem. We want to make sure it's not even trying to find the problem. And this is what I explained to him. I said, why don't we find out what's not the problem?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that? Let's make sure we check what's working. And you could bench test any component in a system. You know, the one thing I like to explain to them the difference between a load and a switch.
Absolutely.
So you look at the breakdown of the components in the equipment you're working on and just identify, is it a load or a switch? And then just try to isolate each component and, hey, you're a load, so if I put power to you, you should work. Right. If you're a switch, well, I have a bunch of jumpers in my bag. I'm going to jump you out.
Let's go around you.
And if you work, then that kind of helps me figure out where we're going with it. But it's a lot for guys. So that's one of the things.
It is. But I also want to encourage, those that are listening that, like, when you get to that point, right, it's not that you're failing to diagnose. It's just, you probably just need a break. You need that minute to step back. And sometimes tech support is the solution for that moment. But if you think about that, what you really needed was that break to step away. And so I always try to encourage technicians, right? If you get to that point, you immediately want to call tech support, go take a little bit of a break. Take a few minutes, step back. You might even call one of your buddies, vent for a minute, right? Get rid of some of that steam and then relook at things. Because that was most of my experiences. Most of my calls, they knew what was wrong. They just hadn't found it yet, or they hadn't got to that step on their own yet, and they just needed that little bit of assistance. Yeah,
it's so true. I mean, my own experience of working on a rooftop unit, Clint, I could not figure out what the problem was on this rooftop unit. It was frustrating me. I just got so frustrated. I walked away from it. I went downstairs, went to my truck, just walked away, came back up, and still didn't know what the problem was when I came back up through the hatch of the roof. But I did something weird. I actually walked at the unit. I went to the unit at a different angle. I literally walked to the different approach, right? So I got to it from a different angle, looked at certain things, and I found the problem. I was like, all of a sudden, like
it was here.
Just looking at it from different angles. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
I love this because not everyone gets to see, like, what does it look like on the other side of tech support, right? What does it feel like for someone who helps people all day long? And because that's what we do. Like,
my experience having been both in the field, calling for tech support, and then being that tech support today, one of the things I could appreciate with guys that are out in the field is that the last thing they want to do is get a guy who's book smart. Like, you can hear it. When you call certain tech support, you'll hear the pages flipping. Like, what's your problem? Like, they have a script they're reading from. They have no idea why the guy's frustrated. Well, he's up in an attic.
Right.
It's 150 degrees.
Sweat dripping in the eyeball, burning.
Like, for me to have that experience, when I'm talking to him, I feel like I'm with them, like I'm there. Because I've been there with them. So it is a benefit for me to have the experience I have compared to maybe the school taught guys that, that went through and could read through a diagram or a book or say, oh yeah, it's this problem or this or that problem, where I'm feeling their pain. I really am. And I could relate to that. And that's how I wind up having a better conversation with them compared to maybe guys that are just cold. It's just give me the pressure. Give me this. Well, give me that. It's like, to your point, even when you're trying to figure out what the voltage should be or what the pressure should be, when those measurements come across, and I tell guys all the time, all I need you to know is how to take the measurements. I don't care if you don't know what they mean.
Right.
That's my job to tell you get them. Learn how to get the information. There's apps now. You stick that information in there. You won't need me in another 5 years, probably.
I know.
It really is AI. I know you guys talked about AI a lot. But, prior to retirement, I'm going to do what I can to help guys get past some of hurdles they get into and some of the roadblocks and mental blocks they have.
That mental block is probably the thing that affected my career the most, right? That mental block is when you think about, when you're out there on a job, a lot of us are out there on our own, all right? We might be lucky enough to have, apprentice with us that we're actually working with, trying to teach the ropes. But then when we get that mental block, man, the pressure's on now, right? Because if you got an apprentice with you, the apprentice is looking at you. If you've got a customer, the customer is looking at you. You got supervisors are looking at you. So then like that pressure just builds and it builds. And then once that pressure and blood pressure elevates, then the whole mental capacity just goes right out the ears. And it's okay to call tech support and go, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I should be able to figure this out. Can you help me out? Because it could literally be a 20-second, I got your back. You got this. You've been on this before. Cool. So you've done this before. Let me just help you get back there. And that few minutes to step back, step away, and just be a tech with a tech.
Right. And that's really what it is. Feel their pain, man. You're in an office. I mean, I'm in an office. It's cool. I'm 70 degrees. Where are you? An attic? Where are you? Basement?
Exactly.
Crawl space? I don't know where you are. But, once I find out, I could sympathize with you, like you said. And I would hope some of the technical support training guys get to do that and get to understand that part of it, because it really makes you appreciate what the technicians are up against. Yeah, really. And you made a great point about how, things could just, with all the pressure of the customer wanting to know what's going on, and you find your way. But I'll tell you what, you get over that with experience. Because I've been in that position where I customers follow you around in my early days, and I'm like,
back off.
I don't know what's wrong. Give me a chance, And there's many times I spark things, and they go like, "That shouldn't have happened."
That should do that, does it?
Yeah, well, I
just eliminated one thing though.
It was, So I get all that too, but experience. I mean, now just building their confidence and getting them up. Yeah. And that's why I have fun with it. And I throw that little therapy in there, but I don't mean much by it. But these guys are great. Like I said, once they get past that, and they do, they're very smart. People are, the techs out there today are very intelligent guys. So
they are. They're learning with technologies and tools that you and I didn't grow up with. Yeah. There was, back in my day, your day, there wasn't digital manifold gauges. No. There wasn't my phone flipped. That's about as good as it got. I had a Nextel, didn't even flip.
I started with the pager.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it didn't have numbers. It just lit off. You knew you had to call the office. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So things have changed. Technology has helped. It's going to continue to, push us forward. But that moral support that we all of us need, sometimes comes in the form of a technical support call. So love it. All right. So tell us a little bit more, like how can we make contact, and what kind of training stuff are you doing?
Well, we do. So we're a distributor that has dealers that deal with the LuxAir product. Yeah. And so what we wind up doing is supporting our dealers through training. Yep. We do have a training facility in Piscataway, New Jersey. Oh, cool. That's built into our corporate office, into the branch that operates out of Piscataway.
Oh, very nice.
Our company, one of the reasons why I went on board with them was because of the investment they wanted to make into the training and the tech support, because it's in hand. Oh,
they go together.
I mean, the tech calls I get from our dealers, and when I find out what they know, what they don't know, it's kind of like, hey, I just could build a training program just for this particular topic.
I hear you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot of that. And then we do what we call on-demand training, which is allowing our customer base to basically use us as an extension of their training. Oh. So, for example, guys wanted to do rooftops commissioning startups. So I'm like, great. We have a facility. We could get the bookwork done. Yeah. And we do a lot of hands-on stuff.
Very cool.
And the hands-on stuff we deal with is products we stick on a wall. I mean, we literally will take a rooftop unit that take the guts out of it and slap it on the wall, wire it up, and make it work.
Nice.
Because we want to show them what it looks like without all the metal on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, you're in a training center, and there's only so much room you have.
You betcha. Get it down to the bone so you can see what's in it.
We do that with the rooftops with an 80% furnace. I mean, I have an 80% furnace on my wall that I literally screw to the wall. It doesn't have a blow wheel.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a heat exchanger.
Yeah. All the parts,
but everything else is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right through the sequence of operation. You could do everything but fire it up because we don't allow gas in them.
Yeah.
We don't, we're not, but we simulate. We'll simulate a flame sensor through simulation, and we'll make it work. Yeah. And they'll hear the gas valve kick on.
We'll see what it should be doing through the sequence.
We use nitrogen to do gas pressure testing.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So just we're being creative.
Yeah.
We use a lot of resistors and little adjustments to
change things up.
Change temperatures on our probes to show them different environments.
You bet.
So we have fun with it. In fact, I'll have to show you some pictures of it afterwards. But we have the top of my training center. There's a big sign we put up there. It says HVAC Playground.
Oh, yes.
And it's funny. People walk in and
they're like, what do you do? I get paid to play.
Diamond plated wall.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me check that out.
So, myself and another guy, we got together to put this together when we first moved in the building about 3 years ago. And as we're building it, he says, well, what do you expect? What type of build and what do you think, what kind of reaction you're looking to have when you build this training center? I said, well, I want people to walk in and first thing I want them to say is, wow.
Yeah. Right off the bat.
And
this is where I want to be.
Yeah. It was great to be able to do that. And we were just about finished with the displays. And one of our workers came in, one of the employees came in, and believe it or not, first words out of his mouth was, wow.
There you go.
Me and the guy, Jeff, we looked at each other and we're like, we got it.
Yeah,
we got the wow factor. So
what's the website for that so people can check that out?
It's generalplumbingsupply.net.
Yep.
And they just look under the event tab. They'll see training. We have a whole training section in there. We're also looking to put together some YouTube videos, and we're big on. In fact, you've helped me start going in that direction.
Yeah,
I'm old timer. I'm still getting used to the iPhone.
That's right.
Yeah, we got to do a little bit more of this because you can reach it, get more
big audience,
get more people. So we do that.
Nice.
So it's all good.
Well, man, I sure appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, and I'm sure we'll find some other topics moving forward. I know commission is your big thing.
That's a big one. Yeah, I can't wait to get onto that one.
Yeah, so we got a whole thing about commission and birth certificates and creating mechanical birth, I call it, or bringing mechanical life into the world. When you take a piece of equipment and you start putting power to it, you start putting electric to a furnace, gas, flue pipe, you do your refrigeration. And when you flip that switch on and you bring life into the world, mechanical life into the world. And I try to remind guys, that's no different to me, because being very passionate about this field, it's no different to me than having a child born. You look at how a child's born and the list that doctor has to check off before they say, hey, that child's ready to go.
Before it's go time.
Yeah. So, even checking the baby, when you compare it to a child, when you're checking the lungs and the capacity of the lungs, that's no different than static pressure.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of relationship that I use or analogy between a human birth and a mechanical birth. Just take pride in what you do, because at the end of the day, you can't it's not just plug and play.
Right.
Like I heard all day at this, conferences, there's no plug and play anymore, guys. You have to do the commissioning. You have to put the work into it afterwards, after you put everything together, through testing, combustion analyzing, testing, gas pressure and stuff like that. So we get very deep in that. And most of my training's based on that, commissioning. Because why teach you how to use a meter if it doesn't apply to anything
if it doesn't have a result?
Yeah, we need you to apply it and then write it down, put it somewhere.
Man.
So
all right, y'all heard that, right?
Yeah. We'll
Episode number 2, Birthing HVAC.
birthing. We all became doctors. That's
Love
great. Good stuff.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me, and have a great show.